Hello and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be a little different to the previous videos that I've done. I'm not going to be following a set text of the Bible. I'm not reacting to anything. This video is more aimed at talking about why these videos have happened and also what that means now moving forward for me. So this is more of an update than it is a Bible study thing. So I imagine most of you know that I am now currently coming to the end of my 3-year contract with Denby Bottles Methodist Church. As my job is coming to an end, within the next 2 weeks I will be moving to where I will be training to be a Methodist minister. In that 3 years at Denby Bottles, and even before that, a lot of learning and transformation has taken place in my life. So I went to Cliff College to study to get my degree in theology. And from there, my first job outside of Cliff was in Marlborough. It was in a church in Marlborough, and I was employed as the youth and families worker. I made a lot of mistakes in that role, and me and the church never seemed to be on the same page. That doesn't mean that we fell out. We were all friends in that job and in the church, and we parted as friends. It didn't go well, I don't think, as a job. I was working 40 to 50 hour days. I was staying in my office all day. I wasn't taking my days off. There was no one around there who was my age, so I never felt like I had somewhere to go to let loose or somewhere to go that made me feel like I was no longer working. Despite all of this, the church felt that I was not doing enough. This was partly from them not seeing what they expected to see from me. It was contact issues, and yeah, I think it was different expectations to a large degree. There was a lot of times of very difficult meetings between me and them, and it culminated in them calling me into one of the rooms in the church to tell me they were reducing my 2-year contract down to a 1-year contract, to kind of quietly brush me under the rug, as it were, and bring a close to my contract. I do believe that a lot of the issues that existed within that role was down to communication and a lack thereof between myself and the church leadership. I think there was faults on both sides. There were certainly areas I could have done more to ensure that wasn't the case, and I think there was more they could have done. And as I recall, when we did part ways, both parties admitted that realistically there were faults on both sides. Having said that, being in that role had made me feel very isolated, not being around friends. You know, I'd moved out of a Bible college where all my friends kind of lived with me. I felt very isolated. I'd stopped prioritizing my study of the Word and my relationship with God in more of trying to get myself over in this youth and families worker position. My confidence was sorely knocked, and I began to question whether I was even capable of working within the church. I was ready to step back from the church, and I wasn't really looking for church work after Marlborough. I was more looking to secular jobs, looking at bartending jobs, looking at shelf stacking jobs, looking at any job that I could really get my hands on, really. But interestingly, prior to them calling me into a room to say that they were reducing my contract, I had befriended a Methodist minister who used to hear me out, listen to my struggles and my difficulties, and pray with me. And she brought to me a job advert for the pioneer worker position at Denby Bottles Methodist Church. And she said, "This sounds a lot more like what you would like to do, and it would be a lot more fulfilling to you, I think." And I felt very called to that position. I felt God very much say that this is where He wanted me. So I passed up on a lot of other jobs. I didn't really actively look for any other jobs. I kind of put all my eggs in one basket, saying, I'm going to go for this job at Denby Bottles. I remember going for the interview thinking, if this doesn't work out, I've not got many options of places I can move into. I've not got a job to go into, certainly not for when I leave the job in Marlborough. But, you know, by the grace of God, I did manage to get the job at Denby Bottles. And I remember for the first 6 months of my time at Denby Bottles, I worked tirelessly, trying to ensure that history didn't repeat itself. I was very keen to ensure the same mistakes weren't made and that I couldn't be accused of not pulling my weight and not fulfilling my hours. So I attended everything I could, I did everything I felt I could, and I tried to be as transparent as possible in those first 6 months, still very much doubting whether I was even capable of doing a job within a church like this. It's fair to say that Denby Bottles have been fantastic in helping rebuild my confidence. Denby have always been fantastic at encouraging me to take risks and be bold in my ministry, and they've been very encouraging of my successes, and they've also been very good at helping to build me up even when things haven't gone according to plan. As I felt my confidence begin to rebuild, and I felt I had a bit more of a realization of the gifts that God had given me for this ministry, I started to work on my personal devotions a lot more. It was the wrong way around, really. I should have worked on my relationship with God more, and then I think I'd have seen fruits much sooner. I began to figure out a method of how I could study effectively, you know, in keeping notes, in tackling tough questions and not shying away from aspects of the Bible that I found tricky or difficult. One of the ways in which I've been able to do that is by making these videos. It forces me to a place of reading parts of scripture I'm not so familiar with. It forces me into a position of looking at questions that I have and also that other people watching have had, and trying my best to come up with an answer for those things through the scriptures and not by adding anything of my own. It's allowed me to share my study with others and allow them to engage with that as well, and also help me in understanding these things as well. I've had some wonderful conversations around the videos that I've released, and I think it's fair to say for all the conversations I've had, it's helped me immensely to have a greater understanding of those topics from hearing everybody else's opinion. These videos originally started as a means of creating more online content for my church during the lockdown, and currently I'm in a point where all the things I do for the church is now winding down to a close. I don't desperately want these videos to be one of those things that has to wind down to a close. I'd really like to continue them. Despite that, the fact is I can't carry on doing these videos in the way that I am currently doing them. A lot of work goes into the videos that you see. There's as soon as I have a question or a topic, there's a lot of reading around that topic within the Bible. There's looking at commentaries, there's looking it up online, there's looking at different translations. Then once you have all that information, I transfer it into my miscellaneous file. After that, I then create a script out of that from the miscellaneous file and put that on my computer so that while I'm looking at the camera, I can also have a little script of what I'm following. And then once I've done that, that usually produces a 20 to 30 minute video clip, and then I edit that quite extensively and then upload it to YouTube. So a lot goes into a video. I also need to accept the fact that within 2 weeks I will be moving home. As well as that, there'll be a point where me and Becky will be settling into our new life in our new accommodation. Then, most importantly of all, there'll be the arrival of our firstborn, and which will naturally take up a lot of time. And then there's the beginning of my studies as well. With all that coming around, I need to learn to adequately juggle my studies, my relationship with God, my time with my child, and my time with Becky, and ensure that each aspect of my life in that time there is getting enough attention. So that has forced me to a point where I need to reflect on these videos and reflect on whether it's worth keeping them going, and if I were to keep them going, what that might look like. So after much thought, I have decided that this is something I would like to continue. I think the benefits of this video for myself and hopefully for those watching has been very noticeable, and I don't really want to let that go. But one of the first conclusions I came to with this is that I think people need to be understanding the fact that the chances are there will be several Mondays where a video will not go online. If I'm unable to juggle all the things I just previously mentioned, then the first thing that is going to get dropped will be these videos. Because I need to make sure I'm prioritizing the right things in my life, and if a week is particularly busy, or if I've not been able to dedicate enough time to my studies or to Becky or to the child or to God, then I will not do these videos. So if you go on YouTube one Monday and there's not a video uploaded, I just actually be understanding the fact that chances are I've just not had enough time to do it that week. But rest assured, I am going to still try and do videos for every Monday. That is going to be my goal. It's just that I know that some Mondays that won't be the reality. Secondly, I think these videos need to change to something that is less time consuming in how it's prepared and how it's done. So as you've seen in previous videos, I have a morning Bible study that I do. I get up, I come into this room, I read through the word, I make notes, and I do a bit of Bible study. The stuff I do for the videos and the research I do for that is separate. That's not done in the mornings, that's usually done in the afternoons or the evenings. So I do two kinds of research in a day. Sometimes it'll be my Bible study in the morning, and it'll be a video bit of study and research in the afternoon. So it's 2 bits of study. So for now, I'm going to try and make the videos that I do to be more of a public sharing of the studies that I'm doing in a morning. That way I don't need to do any extra studying. The studying I will already do, because I'm always going to try and devote time to studying the word and praying with God and speaking with God and trying to understand his word. So these videos will then just be me sharing what I've found or what I've studied and what I've come across. So the book I'm currently studying in a morning is the book of Revelation. I'm studying that book because I know a lot of Christians shy away from it. I know a lot of people don't truly understand it, myself included. So I've challenged myself to go through that book one chapter at a time to try and really figure it all out and, you know, learn a lot more about it. So my plan for these videos moving forward is going to be me sharing what I found through my personal studies. So my aim is going to be for each video I will cover a chapter of the book of Revelation. If you don't know what the book of Revelation is, the book of Revelation is the last book of the Bible, the 66th book, and it's a vision that John has about the end times, supposedly. Some believe it's more of a symbolic kind of narrative of what's going on with the persecuted church at the time. Others believe it is a vision of the end times, the end of the world, if you like, the second coming of Christ. The immediate benefit to this is the fact that I don't need to do any extra research or anything. I can just use the stuff that I've accumulated through my morning devotions. And as well as that, it means the videos will most likely not be as long. I doubt that me talking through one chapter of Revelation and what I've found through that is going to take up half an hour or 25 minutes. So it means the videos will probably be shorter. It means I don't need to do extra studying, and I think that's a surefire way to help ensure that these videos can continue. But in light of all this, I have truly loved and enjoyed making these videos over the last few weeks. I really hope you've enjoyed them too. Let me know in the comments or in the live chat or anything else what you think of this idea moving forward about doing a book of the Bible and going through it one chapter at a time. Thank you for following these videos, and as always, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video, and I found out apparently if you tick the bell underneath the video, that means it will notify you whenever a new video comes out. So that's what this video is. This video is a reflection of what God has done for me. God has done immense stuff for me, and He's been really good to me in helping me take on a whole new zeal for His Word and a whole new excitement for reading it. So I'm hoping to share that more than anything in the coming weeks as we go through a book of the Bible. Let me know what you think, like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you next week when we start looking at the book of Revelation, where we will start by looking at chapter 1. See you next week.